keeping on the team of Limerick hurling, Matt, and we obviously have Galway this Sunday at 2:30 in Pearse Stadium. Limerick are 50-50 so far, a win and a loss. Last year in the Gaelic rounds, Galway really gave it to Limerick. I think it was a 117 to 28 points or something. They really dominated, and Limerick showed last week or 2 weeks ago against Clare that they're kind of in revenge form, put Clare completely to the sword. But Galway will probably be a step up, especially in Salthill. But Barry spoke about that game in 2018, how much of a turning point that place can be in for Limerick. That's what we're hoping for this weekend.
Yeah, that's what we'd be hoping for, Jack. But reflecting on last year, we had to remember the controversial sending off in that game. But notwithstanding that, Jack, and we said it last week about in terms of preparation and in terms of readiness for the league, Limerick are much further down the road this year than they were 12 months ago. Now, we're facing a team that are in similar circumstances to ourselves, in that they had a very impressive win in the first round against Wexford in Wexford Park. Now, a very difficult place to go, as we know, Wexford Park. But that was a game that doubled up with the Walsh Cup final. So Galway picked up silverware, and it augured well for the future, for their future in the league. That was until Cork came to town in the second round and turned them over. Now, I know they were probably more affected. Galway were probably more affected with the Fitzgibbon Cup than most counties, because they had so many players involved with the University of Galway and with ATU Galway. They had a whole raft of players. I think the ATU Galway team, I think both teams were exclusively Galway.
I think the NUIG captain, I think, is actually from Clare, but they definitely had 14 starters from Galway, and ATU at 15, I think,
they were trying to. Now, the other counties, Cork were trying to juggle it as well, because they had so many players with UCC. But look, in the context of the league, Jack, it's a game that Limerick have to win if they're to harbour hopes of reaching the semi-final. Because I know we have games against Westmeath, which you would be expecting to win in Mullingar, and then we have Wexford at home in the last round. So, were Limerick to win, I think they would be in a very, very good place to reach the league semi-final. But were they to lose, I think it would probably make it that little bit more difficult for them to make it through. Now, how much Limerick want to win the league? That's the $64 question. I think what John Kiley will be looking for, he'll be looking to use the league to give players important game time, maybe to juggle his forces around. We have seen a chance of, in one round, we have seen Barry Murphy lining out at midfield, that sort of thing, moving players around. It's going to be an interesting game in Salthill. And if Limerick repeat the performance of the first half against Cork and the performance of the game against Clare, you could say in the game against Clare they were landslide 6-point winners.
Oh yeah,
I think they should be capable of winning in Salthill, but obviously Henry Shefflin will have different ideas. And again, like Limerick, it will depend to what extent do Galway want to win the league, or do they want to use the league to rebuild their forces.
Yeah, it's interesting there you mentioned about winning the league and do teams want to when it's so close to one championship. But the way we've seen this Limerick team this year, there's been a lot of new faces, completely new faces now, not just fringe players. There's also been a lot of fringe players, but it's probably important for those that have been on the fringes and those players that are new to the squad to be able to go to Galway and to be able to win in Salthill, because we saw what it did for the likes of Keane Lynch and Tom Morrissey and Gerard Hegarty, these boys in 2018, that we are seeing some bit of a turnover in the Limerick team. And we know the likes of those boys, Kyle Hayes, Nicky Quaid, Sean Finn, they have no fear of going anywhere else. But a test like Sunday is a chance for your Adam English, your Donncha Dálig, your Shane O'Brien's to be able to say, yeah, we went to Salthill and we won as well. You know, that when it comes to the cut and thrust of championship, that they know how to get the job done in a difficult environment.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, Jack. It's going to be a far more difficult game than Clare, and it will be very very important to see how these guys that you mentioned, the Micheál Houlihan's of this world, react in that type of environment, away from home, probably a hostile crowd, and a much stronger team at this time of the year anyway. It certainly will be a greater test. It'll be very, very interesting to see what lineup John Kiley will come with. We probably know that David Reedy is out, but we haven't. Now we know that Dermot Burns is away. We know that Declan Hannon is nursing an injury, and we don't know if the Galway game will come too soon for him. But we've yet to see players like Barry Nash and Willem O'Donoghue this year. And it will be interesting to see if they will make their 2023 debut in Salthill.
Yeah, I'd say we'll probably get the team Thursday or Friday night. But it will be interesting to see, and it's no harm integrating these lads in slowly, because come April and May, we'll definitely be relying on the likes of Barry Nash and William O'Donoghue. But it's an interesting game to look forward to. Galway is always a difficult test, especially when they're at home.
Jack, in recent years, Galway is a benchmark of where you're at.
Yeah, and I think it's
they have been one of the top sides since they won the All Ireland in 2017. Jack, I have no doubt, were it not for the emergence of this powerful Limerick team, that Galway would possibly have won a couple of more All Irelands. I think they are the nearest to Limerick, and I still think they are the nearest.
When you look at the results between the sides over the last 5 or 6 years, there's never been too much in it, even in 2 All-Ireland semi-finals as well, inside in that, So Galway probably match up best to Limerick, so it will be a good benchmark, and brilliant to get that benchmark probably 7 or 8 weeks before championship, that you can learn from it and then go back onto the training